Hello everyone, welcome to Come Sit at My Table. Today is Sunday, and you know that on Sundays we normally do a recipe that was sent to us from a subscriber. We call it Subscriber Sundays. So today we are doing a recipe that was sent to us from a lady named Edith Cunningham in Blanchester, Ohio. Now, when we got Edith's letter and recipe, I was a little surprised because I have never heard of putting pumpkin with hamburger. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know, this might just work. So let me read a little bit of what Edith wrote to you, and then we'll talk about this recipe. Her letter says, "Dear Tom and Melissa, this recipe might sound odd. Yeah, it does. But it's so delicious. I live in Southwest Ohio. A city near Columbus has a pumpkin show. This is one of the biggest sellers at the show. I hope you give it a try. Love your channel, Edith Cunningham." Now, pumpkin and hamburger. I had to get online and just look. So I Googled pumpkin show near Columbus, Ohio, and found out that this pumpkin show is actually in a place called Circleville, Ohio, and it's going to start in 3 days. This year it is October 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, which is a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So if you live near Circleville, Ohio, and you've not been to the pumpkin show, you may want to go this coming week just to see what the show's about. If Melissa and I were closer and we had a little extra time, I would love to go to this pumpkin show. So I did some research on this pumpkin burger recipe and found out, of course I could tell by reading the recipe, but I found out it's kind of like a sloppy joe. And indeed, it does have pumpkin in it. And it's a huge hit at this pumpkin show in Circleville. So I thought, okay, we have to try this. This is something different, something unusual, and I really want to try it. So let's talk about what we're going to use to make our pumpkin burgers. First, the recipe says to start with 1.5 pounds of beef, ground beef. I'm using Laura's lean beef. It's 92% lean, 8% fat. I'm doing that because we're making something like a sloppy joe. If I were making hamburgers to grill on the grill, I would never use something this lean. We like a little more fat in it because it gives it flavor. But for this recipe or anything that you're going to cook hamburger in, you might want something a little more lean. Now, this is 2 pounds, and we only need 1.5 pounds, so we're going to use all of one and half of the other, and Melissa and I will save the other half, and we'll probably do hamburgers one day soon. We're also going to use a medium onion that is chopped up, and I have already started chopping that when I've chopped half of it. We're going to use a 12-ounce bottle of chili sauce, and we'll use the entire bottle in it. We're also going to use a 10.75-ounce can of tomato soup. We will not dilute it. We'll use it straight out of the can. We'll just take it straight out of here and put it into our recipe. We're also going to use 1/2 cup of pumpkin. And you'll notice we are using 100% pure pumpkin. We are not using pumpkin pie filling. Make sure you're getting pure pumpkin. Then to add some flavor, we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. Now, Edith's recipe says you can use 1/2 teaspoon to 1 teaspoon. Because this is the first time I've ever made this, I'm going to start with just 1/2 teaspoon. If it's not enough, the next time I make it, I'll know to increase it to 1 teaspoon. But today, we're going to start with the lower amount of 1/2 teaspoon. Then it says 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And of course, we're going to need hamburger buns. And these artisanal brioche buns are really good. They're probably our favorite. So the first thing we need to do is chop up the rest of this onion. Now, because this is going to cook for quite a while, you're not going to want to chop this too small. You're going to want fairly good-sized chunks. Otherwise, they're just going to cook up and disappear in your meat mixture. So don't chop them too small. You want to kind of have a good medium to large dice. Just don't go too small with them. All right, so now I've gotten down to the end here. I'm just going to slice this last part and cut it up too because we don't want to waste it. So all of that will go in. I'm also going to use that end right there. And that little piece where the root end was is all we're going to waste. I see a little piece of the root right here. I'm going to take it out. We don't want that hard root in our dish. Okay, so that will go to the compost pile. All right, now, the first thing we need to do is get our hamburger or our ground beef started cooking. So I'm going to take one and put in our skillet. And then I'll take half of the other one and put in. Now, you know, if I were just doing this for Melissa and me, I would probably just go ahead and put the whole 2 pounds in since I had it. But since the recipe says 1.5 pounds, that's what I'm going to do this first time. I've told you before, anytime that I make a new recipe, I always make it the way it's written the first time. All right, so I'm going to get my fire started, and we're going to chop up our hamburger just a little bit before we add our onion to it. And the first step is to brown this hamburger or this ground beef and the onion together until there is no pink left. All right, let me grab my onion. We're just going to add that. And I know you might think, man, that looks like a lot of onion for 1.5 pounds of ground beef, but really it's not. It will cook up, and it really is not that much. All right, so we're just going to let this start cooking and cook it until there's no pink left. Our hamburger and onions have been cooked, and I have drained the grease. Now, all we do is add everything else to it. So we're using the whole bottle of chili sauce. And you know, if you've been around here a while, you know I can't stand to leave that much in there. So hang on, Melissa. I'm going to get just a little drop of water. It will cook off, I promise. I'm just going to shake that up because I don't want to leave all that chili sauce in there. Okay. Now we're going to add our tomato soup. I'm backhanded again, aren't I? Sorry. And we're just putting it straight in out of the can. We're not mixing it with anything. No water, no milk. Just right into the pumpkin burgers.
I guess if someone's made their own tomato soup, they could use that instead.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you have homemade tomato soup, use it. All right, now we're going to put in our pumpkin. And that's 1/2 cup of pumpkin, by the way. Okay. Get that right down there in the corner. I don't want to leave it out. It wants to come to the party. Now, we're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. This is a really strange ingredient for hamburgers, I think. But I'm trusting Edith on this one.
And all those people who go to the
Absolutely.
pumpkin show.
I'm sure there are thousands of people who go to this pumpkin show every year and love this.
I love shows and festivals. I wish we could go this week. That would
I
be fun.
know, I would love it, but we already have plans this week. We're actually going to be gone for a few days. Okay. Everything's in. That's it. Now, we're just going to bring this to a boil. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit. It says to let it start boiling, and once it comes to a boil, to reduce the heat to a simmer, cover it with a lid. So you are going to need to use some kind of a skillet or a pan that has a lid with it. And it's going to simmer for up to an hour. Now, if you've been around here a while, you know that Melissa and I don't like things that are dry. We like things that are juicy, moist. So, I will watch this. If it starts to dry out, if it starts to cook down and gets a little dry, I may not cook it the whole hour. I don't know, there's some pumpkin right there. It didn't mix up. Okay, got it. We'll just have to wait and see. But the recipe says up to an hour. Simmer it for up to an hour covered. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cover it. Now it's not come to a boil yet. We need to bring it up to a boil and then simmer it. So I'm just going to let it sit here, come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to cover it. And then we'll start watching it. Maybe up to an hour, we'll see. But after it's simmered long enough that it has cooked down, we will make sandwiches. That does look like Sloppy Joe's, doesn't it?
I was thinking it really does look a lot like a Sloppy Joe.
It does. It's very similar to a Sloppy Joe. So,
does Sloppy Joe's have peppers?
You know they do. I always put a green pepper, or I use other colored peppers too when I'm making homemade Sloppy Joes. And I think it would be good in this. It would give it some color.
Right.
You know, this
especially
doesn't
this
have...
time of the year.
Yeah. So we could put a yellow, red, orange, green pepper. Just maybe not a whole one of each of those, but you could choose one or two or three, and maybe not even put a whole one, just half of each of those, and give it some color. But this is the first time I'm making it, so I'm making it exactly like Edith's recipe says. All right, so we'll bring it to a boil, simmer it for up to an hour, and we'll come back and we'll make sandwiches. This is what we're having for our meal today. Our pumpkin burger mix has simmered on the stove for about 55 minutes. Now for the last 5 minutes, I did take the lid off because I wanted it to thicken up just a little bit. So I'm going to turn the heat off, and we're going to do a little taste of it without putting it on the buns, just so we can really taste what this tastes like. I'll blow on yours because I don't want you to get burned. You want me to feed you? Or you can.
I can do it.
Okay. What do you think?
That's really good. I'm not sure if I didn't know that it had pumpkin in it.
Wow.
That I would pick the pumpkin out. I can.
I can pick out the pumpkin pie spice.
Yes, it's there, but I'm not sure if I didn't know it was there that I would pick it out. Now that because I know it, I can taste it.
Right.
But it's not overwhelming. I think if you had used more of the pumpkin pie spice, it might be too much.
Yeah, I would not put in more than half a teaspoon. That is really good.
It is. It's definitely got that Sloppy Joe.
It's got the Sloppy Joe feel to it, doesn't it?
It does.
But
it's good.
I think if I tasted that and didn't know there was pumpkin in it, I wouldn't be able to say, oh, that has pumpkin. But because I know it's in there, I can taste it.
I agree with that.
And I definitely taste the pumpkin pie spice.
I do like it. I'm a Sloppy Joe fan too, though. So
yeah, we love Sloppy Joes. And I did take this off just a few minutes early because we do like it a little sloppy. Now, I do my Sloppy Joes a little differently than most people. I do them open-faced. I do them just like that. I actually put my buns side by side and spoon it over them and then eat it with a fork because Sloppy Joes are sloppy. So that's how I'm going to eat it. You want a bite with the bread?
I'll just wait. I'm going to have a sandwich.
Okay.
I think they're very good.
I would make this again in a heartbeat. I also really like that chili sauce.
That is good.
That has a much different flavor than a sloppy joe that you make with ketchup. I'm telling you, this is really good. I like this. And I'm not going to kid you, Edith. When I first saw it, I wasn't so sure. This is really good. The way I decide on a recipe, on how good it is to ask myself, would I serve this to company? I would serve this to company in a heartbeat. I would not tell them that it had pumpkin and pumpkin pie spice in it until they ate it. And then I would see if they could tell me what the secret ingredient was. I don't think they could. But once I told them, they would know. Man, yeah, I can't wait to have dinner. That's delicious. I really do encourage you to try this. That is really good. I'm going to tell you that this would also freeze really well. So if you can't eat this whole batch, if you live by yourself or maybe you're just a couple like Melissa and I are, you could freeze half of this or freeze whatever you're not going to eat and put it in individual bags or containers, and then you could thaw it out and have a meal in a few minutes. I guarantee you that would freeze really well.
Cook once, eat twice.
That's right. Cook once, eat twice. Cook once, eat 3 times, 4 times. That's my motto. I think you would really like this. It's very different. It does have the sloppy joe taste and feel, but it's different at the same time. It's really good. Thank you for watching. Edith, thank you for sending this recipe. We really do appreciate it. And if you have a recipe that is tried and true, something you've made over and over, you know it's delicious, and you want to send it to us for us to consider, you can mail that to us. Please don't post it in the comments. We may not see it. We need you to send it to us through the post office. And if you go right below this video and click the description box, you'll see the title of this recipe, pumpkin burgers. You'll see the word more under it. If you click anywhere in that box, it will expand and you'll find the written recipe. Melissa always puts it down there for you. And under that recipe, you'll find our contact information. You'll find our mailing address. So you can mail anything to us like that you want to. If you have a recipe you want us to consider, mail it to us. We'd love to see it. Also, we would appreciate you going right below this video and clicking the like button. And if you haven't before, click that subscribe button, the little notification bell beside it and the word all. That just joins you to our channel so that YouTube can notify you every time we put up a new video. We really would appreciate you joining by clicking that subscribe button. All right, thanks again. We do appreciate it. And one more thing, Melissa mentioned earlier, this would be really good with some peppers chopped up in it. Green bell peppers, yellow peppers, orange peppers, yellow peppers. It would give it some color and make it more fall looking. So if you want to put some peppers in it, you can do that. All right, thanks again. Edith, thank you for the recipe. Thank the rest of you for watching. We will see you back here on the next episode of Come Sit at My Table. Remember, you are always welcome to come sit at my table. Have a great day.